Welcome, everybody. Mike Martinez, and it's Born to Win conversation number 10. I got a great guest today, Miss Kelly Mitchell. And Kelly is going to discuss how yoga helps the person, grow personally. It's more than just a physical activity, but we'll get right into it. Kelly, thank you for joining me, and we'll be right back, okay?
Yep.
Okay, welcome back, Kelly. I'm totally excited. We've had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and by the way, Sensei Juan is not with us today. Normally, he is here with me, but he made the connection between you and I, and he wanted us to kind of go over some of the benefits because there's a lot related to yoga that kind of fits in with our journey with personal development with martial arts. But to begin with, let's just talk about Kelly Mitchell and how Buddha Barn. You are the founder of Buddha Barn, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. How did that evolve, and how did you evolve, and give us a little background on that?
Well, a little background would be at the age of around 35, I'm 53 now. I just started to not feel well in my body and my mind. And I had babies and I didn't really understand what was happening. And then that's when my journey began. I started doing yoga. My goal was just to stay in the studio and not leave in panic.
Hmm.
And and then I did a lot of healing, a lot of years of therapy and yoga. And then I felt better. My kids got older and I decided I wanted to pursue it as a career because I was a stay-at-home mom and I felt like it was just a natural progression. And I started as a personal trainer, but the yoga always came back. Yoga always just kept seeping back into my life. And then that's when I decided to go much further into my training with yoga to be a yoga teacher. And then I just kept expanding on the business. And now I have personal training clients and life coaching clients. But, the big part of the studio is yoga, private and group.
Yeah. What type of yoga do you practice?
Vinyasa. Vinyasa. So,
Vinyasa. Yeah. And
yeah, Vinyasa.
what's the history on that?
Vinyasa is very fluid and flowy, and it actually means arranging something in a special way or linking breath to movement. And when you link that breath to your movement, or when you find stillness and breathe, whether you're still or moving, and you link it to that breath, I think it's life changing. And I have an art background, so to me, the sequencing of a vinyasa practice is very creative because I mean, I always stick to the foundations, but I love to keep it creative. And I love that movement, which I'm sure you can relate to as well.
Yeah. I started practicing martial arts. Both Sensei One and I grew up together as young kids, and we were practicing martial arts together. And you look at it kind of as a physical activity, and that's all you kind of compartmentalize it in your mind as a physical activity. And then, there's an ancient Japanese expression that says, when the student is ready, the master will appear. And
Yeah.
that's what happened with me with my Japanese instructor. He was an old guy, Tamin Kashimoto. He still teaches in Staten Island, New York. And for me, it was a totally transforming mindset because I thought it was about punching and kicking and about fighting and stuff like that. And he opened my mind to seeing martial arts as a personal development thing, as a way of unifying my mind, body, and spirit, right? As a way of me growing personally. It's not about, being able to fight five guys in the street, which most likely you can't do anyway, right?
Right.
But it's not Hollywood, right? Martial
Right.
arts. Was there a moment or a teacher for you that kind of said, you know, this is more than just stretching or postures? It's a lot more than that. Did you find anything that triggered that idea in your mind?
Yes. First, let me just say there's so many similarities to what you just said to the yoga practice, because just like just like what you do, the here yoga is very diluted, and it's nobody's fault. It's just kind of what you see. So I'm not blaming anybody for thinking that way or seeing it that way, but it's not just physical. The asana, the postures are not are a important part of the practice, but a very there's so many other parts, and so much of yoga is connecting to the mind body spirit. It's the mind body spirit connection. Yoga literally means union.
Mm.
It's the connection. So I always say in my classes, you can practice yoga when you're brushing your teeth. You can practice yoga when you're dealing with a coworker that you're not getting along with. You can practice yoga when you're trying to handle something with your children. So I love that there are so many similarities, and I love to try to spread that awareness. As far as my personal experience, like a light bulb moment, was when I was in my first training, my 200-hour certification for yoga. I was very overwhelmed. I was kind of the older one in the group. And I thought, what am I doing? And I opened up the book, and when I opened it, the first page gave the definition of a yogi.
Mm.
And although I loved all the training, and I'm such a student by nature, I'm a forever student. Um, I read that definition and I thought, I want to be a yogi. I want to live my life like a yogi, whether I teach or whether I don't teach or whether I have a studio. I want to be a yogi in my life.
Mm.
And that's what I've always tried to hold on to and always try to teach, because it's, like you said, so much more than the physical. So that was the light bulb moment for me. And then I kept going on with certifications because I just wanted more. I wanted more. It'll never be enough for me. There's
Yeah.
always enough
Very
to learn.
interesting. What was it about what you read there? I'm guessing your mind opened up to the definition of what a yogi
Yeah.
was. What was it that attracted you so much there?
Well, it was, I mean, without getting into like a yoga workshop, it's based on the principles of yoga, which are the 8 limbs of yoga, which is too long to get into, and yoga sutras, and all of the philosophy and lineage of what yoga is. In simple terms, that means being kind, being compassionate, being more aware, being more open, following your breath whenever you can, trying to be present in the moment, and just the art of paying attention in your life. And it all starts with self. I
Mm.
always say, because if you're not kind to yourself, how can you be kind to somebody else? Or if you're not open to your own life, how can you be open to another life that might not look like yours? So I'm trying to keep it really short and simple, but that a yogi just means it starts from self, and how you can be the best version of you with acceptance and surrender and patience and everything in between.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. And you touched on something. You kind of just brushed through it, and I want to kind of dig into it a little bit more. But I noticed for me, we both know that in martial arts and in yoga, we practice meditation. Meditation is something that kind of expands the mind, but beyond that, beyond the expansion of the mind, it puts the person in the now, where you're living in the now as opposed to thinking of the future or thinking of the past, right? You're right there in the moment where you're noticing your breath, where you're noticing yourself, right? And that's something that martial arts does very well, and so does yoga. Yoga is considered a form of moving meditation. Is that
Correct.
is that correct?
Yoga is prayer and meditation in action.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
it's so true. I always tell my students in class, if you could get a true inhale and exhale and be here in the now when you're doing it, it was a good class. It's not about headstands and handstands. It's not about yoga pants. It's not about any of that. It's about, because, and again, it's not our fault, but it's, we rarely are in the moment. We are sad about the past. We are over projecting and over analyzing about the future. And we live very hectic lives. So again, it's just part of life. But when you can learn how to truly breathe in the moment, it's not going to make the problems go away. it's going to create space between the
Mm.
of your mind. It's just going to create space. And then, you'll be stressed again, but then you create more space, and then you'll feel lost and you create space, and then you feel, anxiety, and then you create space. That it's just being in the moment is everything. Only place where your life exists. It's the only place where your breathing exists. Nothing else exists. So when you can get into that mindset and begin a practice, whatever that looks like for you, it really does change your life. It helps with everything: reactivity, stress, anger, grief, loss, insecurity. It's a magical process to learn how to breathe in the moment.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it. I love that. Let me now. You also mentioned something that I don't want to let go away, because we find this in martial arts also. Like there are this instructor that I talked about, Taman Kashimoto, taught a very traditional form of karate, right? And that's Japanese karate. That very traditional, where there were certain rituals that we went through. There were certain traditions that we went through, and it was something that was part of the system, but a lot of schools take it away because it's just not, that doesn't work in the 2020s, right?
Yes.
That doesn't work here. And you mentioned that some of the yoga has been watered down or made to fit, let's say,
Hmm.
today's environment, today's society.
Yeah.
What would you say is part of that? What is part of the watering down process of the yoga?
Oh, God, that's such a big question. The watering down is many components, I think, and just I just want to say, I I know more now. I was part of that because I didn't know. I didn't know. When you know more, you do better. You
Right.
know. So I'm learning right there with everybody else. But now I know that, first of all, we don't acknowledge enough, India, where it came from, and the people of India, and that's that sacred philosophy and lineage. It's not out there. And again, not judging at all, but this is a very hot topic for me. When these, especially these young people, they
Mm.
go social media, they go on social media and they see a half naked or a naked, usually it's a white girl, you know, on a mountain in Bali, teetering in some crazy pose. And then these young people think that's what yoga looks like. And I don't look like that. And my body doesn't look like that. And I'm not that color. And I don't, and I can't do that. And then yoga becomes intimidating and scary. And it's just, yoga is the opposite of that. I have so many clients through the years that came into my studio and took a breath because they were so nervous about taking a yoga class. I'm not going to look a certain way. My mat isn't pretty enough. My clothes aren't good enough. And sometimes it makes me sad because that's just the absolute opposite of what yoga is. So
Yeah,
that's my
and you just missed the entire
miss,
essence of, right.
right. You're missing
Right,
the big.
right. When I was prior to joining the school with Taman Kashimoto, I thought it was about street fighting. I thought about, I want to win every fight that I can. And he kind of just shifted my whole mindset to think, Mike, forget about beating anybody. Make sure you come here and you beat yourself every
Yes.
time, right? So if you did a punch a certain way, tomorrow try to be a little faster with that punch. Try to
Yeah.
get it with a little bit more accuracy, or try to get the timing a little bit better. But don't worry about the black belt that you wanna compete with. No, forget about him. Just compete with yourself, and you'll see that you'll open up the skills that you need. So let me ask you this, because you kind of touched on it before, and I just want to see if maybe you can expand on that. Yoga, when we talked about being here, being present right now in the moment, the importance of that, totally important. I 100% agree, right? And that's something that very few times during the day, if you were to write down in your journal, when am I in the moment, and when am I thinking about the past or the present, you'll find you're not in the moment too many times, right? So what other specific benefit have you noticed, or have you seen, or have you developed, talking about the mind now, because of yoga?
How it benefits your mind?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, again, yoga and linking your breath to movement when you're moving,
Mm,
link your breath to your stillness, it creates gray matter. So we live, the Buddhist term is the monkey mind. I don't know if you ever
right.
heard of it, right? The
Hmm.
monkey mind is, well, when you think of a monkey in a jungle, just, swinging from branch to branch and jumping up and down and rolling around. And that's the monkey mind. That's our brain. That's our brain. And we also have to remember that your mind isn't just your brain. Your whole being is your mind. So when you're really stressed out and you think it's all in your mind and you have a stomach ache, well, that's not your brain, that's your stomach or your heart or your body, your legs, or, or it manifests in so many other ways. So the goal of the practice is just to give that monkey mind one positive thing to do while, if we're talking about a yoga class, one positive thing to do to create that shift in your vibrational energy, because we're so focused, again, not our fault, I can't say that enough, we are so focused on the physical, every and women, oof, that's a whole nother Zoom call, right? But we're so focused on the physical that we forget we have a subtle body to nourish and take care of and love and accept and, again, surrender to. So when you're practicing and you're in the moment, things will come up. Things will come up. And for most of us, we want to push it away and do something else, or we turn to something like drugs or food or, some
Mm,
kind of, but when you're really on your mat, you accept it, you acknowledge it. I always say to my students, when you have those thoughts or those emotions, thank God your brain is working, you're alive. Thank
mm,
God your brain is trying to process. So you accept it, keep breathing, keep moving, or find that stillness depending on the posture. And then it almost like it helps your body to release it. So it's not festering inside you. That acknowledgement and not pushing it away, that's what also causes us to be running around in our mind and our body, because a lot of times maybe we don't want to acknowledge all that stuff. It's scary. It
mm,
hurts. I always say as well, throughout your hour or whatever that you're in a class, shift your mindset from emotions to sensations, from
mm.
emotions to sensations. And I'll give examples like, okay, somebody just yelled at you when you were driving and almost cut you off. And, you're so upset and you can't even practice yoga because you just want to find that person and yell at them. And those are emotions. Sensations are I have a headache from this. My heart is a little racy. Those are sensations in your body that you can move through and now make it about you, because that person is gone and causing you all this stress, and they don't even know that they're doing that. So that's why yoga is just so much more than what you see a lot on social media and things like that, and in this area.
Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful thing, when you really get to the core of what it is, and you mentioned the word vibrations.
Mm,
When you get to the core of really what it's looking to do is produce a sensation, like you were just talking about, of happiness, of joy, right, of bliss. And when you can stay in that vibration, because if you notice, right, you put on the TV, oh, we got this war going on, oh, there's a food
uh,
shortage, oh, there's no gas over here, oh, and they're constantly trying to agitate the mind to get to a bad vibration. That's what I feel, right, because every time you put something on, they're trying to get you to think, oh my God, the world's coming to an end, right? And how do you feel when you're in that mode? You feel like, oh my God, I'm out of control. There's things that are happening that I have no control over. I'm gonna it's doom and gloom, right? And when you can get into a practice like martial arts or yoga, where
mhm.
you are now in control, where you are now creating the sensation and creating the bliss and creating the
Yeah.
joy and being grateful for,
Yes, I was just gonna.
right?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, uh, Vibrations, shadows, and gratitude are three big components in life. Forget about your yoga mat or forget about in your life. Um, you have the power to shift your vibrational energy. You have the power to do that. How do you do that? One great way to do that is gratitude. Gratitude changes everything. So even on the worst day, you get on your mat, and I always say things like, look, you're alive. That's a go-to. If you can't think of anything, thank God or whomever you pray to, I am alive. And that's what you don't have to do. You don't have to try. You don't have to think. Just find gratitude in your body when you're practicing, or especially when you're not practicing, when you're in your life. And that will create a shift in your vibrational energy time and time again. But also the vibrations, like there, you see good vibes only, good vibes only. That's a great quote for social media. That's not reality. Shadow work on your mat is so life-changing, because again, we don't want to go to the shadows. That's dark there. It's scary there. We want to go to the light. Go to the light. The shadow work gets you to the light. The shadow work gets you to the light. I think someone really has to be aware if they're looking to heal and grow. And, that shadow work is so important. Bad vibes, I'm sure you can relate to this, right? If you, for self-defense purposes, let's say, if you have a bad vibe, if you're walking through a parking lot and it's dark and you're alone and you have a bad vibe, you don't want to go to the light. You want to understand what is that bad vibe,
right?
And be ready, right? That's going to get you to the light, and you can apply that physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah. And again, that's in being in the moment and being aware of what's going on. Yeah.
Correct.
So, Kelly, we're going to be ending this here. But again, as you guys can see on the video here, you see BuddhaBarn.com. That's Kelly's website. That's BuddhaBarnYoga.com, correct? Yeah. And that's what Kelly founded. And Kelly, you've actually produced some programs. Would you touch on some of those?
Yes, I have a new program launching that I'm so excited about. It's called Meditation in Action. It's an online course. And the reason why I created it is because people don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. We need to be guided. It's not easy to just look at someone that is totally stressed out and say, just meditate. What does that mean? That's frustrating, actually, right? Meditation apps are great, but where are you? Have you meditated before? Can you handle it? Are you going through some serious grief or loss or anxiety in your life? It's not so easy to just do it, right? So the reason why I created Meditation in Action is because I wanted to explain to the student how to put it into action. So there's 30 guided meditations, but it starts with more simple kind of easing in, mindful awareness, breathing in, breathing out. And then as you go down the list, it's more, grief, inner child, insecurities, anxiety, how to sleep. And each meditation has a little video bite with me explaining how to put each one into action. So hence Meditation in Action. So hopefully in the next month or two, I'll be launching that.
Very cool. Very cool. So keep an eye on that. That's going to be listed on your website, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. I just about an hour ago, I was looking at this video that I'm subscribed to, some channel on YouTube, and they were interviewing Wim Hof. Are you familiar with Wim Hof?
Well, I feel like it sounds familiar.
Yeah, this guy he's a Polish gentleman that does absolutely incredible things. He actually started with Kundalini yoga, which is a very, very rare form of yoga. And he actually studied that Kundalini yoga in India. But he's developed a way of meditating where he can actually go and release stem cells from his bone marrow, right? I mean, that's how intricate the guy's thing is. Very, very, a lot of people take for granted the power of meditation. When you can get into your mind and you could be guided into doing, certain things with your mind, it's totally powerful. It just gives you tremendous power to do that. And that's why I'm so excited about your program. I'm sure that's going to help a lot of people. And Yeah. So congratulations, kudos to you on that. Anything you want to say, and this is going to be the last question for you, but anything you want to say, because I can be honest with you, where I've been wanting to study yoga, but I look at it and I say, man, I don't know. Can I really get into those
That,
postures? Can I
that's
really?
it.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And part of it is what you say, that sometimes you see the young girl in the,
Yeah.
in the bikini doing some twisted thing, and you're thinking, man, I could never be that flexible. I could never do that.
Or look
Uh,
like that.
right, right. So what can you tell a person that may be looking at this, maybe saying, hey, I would love to study yoga, but I think I'm beyond that age, or I think I'm beyond physically what I can do with my body. What would you say to a person like that?
Well, I could tell you first, I'm 53 and I never did a handstand, never will. If you look at me, if I did some kind of physical yoga teacher test, I'd probably fail. My flexibility, isn't like what you see on social media. It's the art of acceptance and the art of paying attention. And I can't speak for other studios or other teachers, but that is why I built my practice on having somebody come into that studio and being welcomed with complete acceptance, age, size, color, shape, level of ability, life circumstances, everything in between. You're coming into the studio now, you're part of our family, you're part of a community, a diverse community, and you're going to get on that mat and you're going to breathe. And that's it. And if that's all that you do, you had a good class. And I also try to, well, for myself, I know, but I make sure that my instructors that work there know that, and know that even in a, let's say, more physical class, that they're very aware of modifications. I always say in the beginning of a class, here's some things that you can do if you're not comfortable doing this. Get into a child's pose, get into an easy pose, take shavasana. When I see somebody just break out into shavasana, final resting pose, I think that's the most badass thing ever, because they're choosing to take care of themselves and take the pose that they need. That's what yoga is. And then hopefully, if you get that consistent practice going, you're it's the beginning of paying attention, and it's the beginning of that journey home to self. And that's where the magic happens. That's
Yeah.
where the magic happens, knowing that you don't need to come into the studio and have to be this physical, have this level of physical ability, or this level of endurance or mobility or flexibility. It's you take a modification and you just keep breathing,
Yeah.
and
It sounds like you're saying that everybody comes in at a different level,
yeah.
and you progress at a different level, right?
I don't really have beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes, because I think that's kind of funny. Because if you could be the most physically fit human, you could meditate every day, you could be able to twist your body up in a pretzel. If you're suffering from loss, or if you had a really bad day, or you're physically not feeling well, you have a cold, or you're going to get on your mat as a beginner.
Hmm.
So
Very interesting. Yeah.
beginner, intermediate, advanced. I get that people that have no idea what yoga is, they might not want to jump into like a power flow, but even if they did, if you're at my studio, you're going to be okay.
Very cool. How
Yeah.
how 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 many days is your studio open?
7 days.
7 days.
Days.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful
Not,
thing.
not all day, but we have a couple of classes a day. Yeah.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. I
You
love
got,
that. That's a beautiful thing. Hopefully, one day, my wife and I will take a trip down to. My wife wants to get into yoga also, and that would be a beautiful thing for both of us to do as a couple. And I would love to visit your studio one day. So, your contact information is on the video, and you're going to be getting people. If anybody is looking at this and you like what you heard Kelly talk about, she's definitely not a superficial yoga instructor where she's just talking about poses and make you sweat a little bit and go home. She's got a deeper understanding, guys, a deeper insight into what the art of yoga is, and the art of being able to unify the mind, the body, and the spirit to get one cohesive motion forward, so that you're progressing. And that's what everybody's looking for. Everybody's looking for some way to advance, right? And yoga is a great art, an ancient art in which you can start advancing again, mind, body, and spirit, and take it to the next level for yourself. And you'd be surprised how just a simple practice like that, a couple, 3 or 4 times a week, is going to advance so many other things in your life, right? Because you take what you learn in the studio and now you're bringing it into your everyday life. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And enhance. I think you said the word enhance. That's a great word to describe what I call, real yoga. It enhances everything. It enhances your faith, whomever you pray to. Again, it enhances your physical body. It does. Of course it does. It enhances your mind. It enhances your soul, because at the end of the day, uh, anything in life, anything, not just yoga, not what we do, anything and everything in life is the art of paying attention.
Mm.
The art of paying attention. And when you're on your mat and you don't, like you said, you don't have a TV and you don't have your phone, the phone thing, when you don't have your phone, and I'm guilty of it too. I run a business off my phone. When you don't have all those external forces and you have the ability and the gift, the blessed opportunity to go within for 1 hour, that is the art of paying attention. And that's where growth and healing happens.
Yeah, beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Kelly, thank you very
Thank
much. I know you have a very busy schedule. Thank you very much for sharing your time and your knowledge with me and our audience. And again, pick up the phone, guys. If you're in the Belmar, Long Island area, you want to stop by Buddha Barn Yoga, and you want to have some fun there and test yourself and see how you can expand and how you can grow. You also want to take, if you're anywhere around the world and you're looking at this and you want to learn great meditation strategies, then you want to go to Buddha Barn yoga.com and look at her upcoming meditation course. You're going to find some really good stuff, and you're going to find things that are going to take your mind and your life to the next level. So Kelly, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Yeah,
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And hopefully
Appreciate
this won't be the last time we'll have you again, maybe with Sensei Juan here.
it.
And
Yes.
yeah, we would love to have you again. So
I
thank
would
you
love
very
that.
much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.